on?
Jurko, I wanted to talk to you about the schedule that was released on Wednesday night.
Yes.
We've broken it down. We've looked at it from every different angle, and I think there's a lot of consensus that the Chicago Bears, if they're going to have a great season this upcoming season, they have to get off to a fast start. And I think that's where there's been a lot of conversation in the last 24 hours about whether or not it's fair or not to backload divisional games at the end of the schedule, post-November type of thing.
I like that. I don't think it, whether it's fair or not, doesn't make a difference. The NFL has to go about the business of scheduling 270 some odd games for the season. Not everybody is going to be happy with the schedule. When you look at other schedules, you probably say, boy, that's a lot more palatable. That looks a little bit better. I don't like the 3 home games. I don't like the 3 road games. I don't like 3 and 11 days, 3 and 12 days. I don't like some of that the Bears are going to have to contend with. But these are the challenges. You know, they go through the business of trying to figure things out. Soldier Field, I don't think gets used during the football season for the Chicago Bears, so I don't think there's many dates that are preempted. Other facilities are used for other things, and some of that would be preempted, so those blockers come in. And then you've got to start putting certain teams on the road. And when they run the computer models, they'll come out with the schedule, and they'll look at the schedule, and there's like no way in hell we can do this to that team. So the Bears ended up getting it backloaded. You got a new quarterback. You got basically about 9 games where you can go ahead and get some practice in. And then the games that really matter, the games in the division are going to come, and they're going to come at you. I could look at it as being an advantage for the Chicago Bears, and then I could look at that 3-game road trip as a disadvantage for the Chicago Bears. But the Bears are going to have to play well early, whether they like it or not, because the softness in their schedule is early.
Yeah, the 3-game road trip you're talking about, that starts with Thanksgiving at the Lions. That's week 13. Week 14, the following week, would be at San Francisco, December the 8th. Then December the 16th, week 15, at Minnesota. Theoretically, 2 of those games are, quote, prime time games. You're on a island with the Thanksgiving game in the morning. The Vikings game is a Monday night football game. And then that 49ers game will be the late Fox event game, America's game of the week. So You're right. Those 3 weeks, that's a gauntlet. And it's also, you're going to have a lot of eyeballs around the country dissecting this team, kind of breaking down whether or not Caleb Williams is a bust, whether or not he could be the next great quarterback in NFL history. Like, that's where the wild takes are going to be flying from coast to coast.
Well, for me, if you can go 1-2 in there, I think you're doing a hell of a work. If you can go 1-2 in that 3-game stretch, I think you've done a wonderful job. If somehow you find a way to go 2-1 in that stretch, well, I think you've done a miraculous job.
Yeah, if that's the case,
up to that point is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Up to that point, you're good right there. Up to that point, I mean, you've got to be doing work. The work's got to be done up until before that Thanksgiving day to put yourself in a position where, God forbid, you go 0-3. You need to be in a position where you could absorb 0-3, because I'm telling you, going 1-2 on that trip is going to be one hell of a job.
Yeah, that's true. And that's also where that 3-game set leads into your final 3 games of the season, which is also difficult. Detroit and Green Bay with Seattle mixed in. And for whatever people think of the Seahawks, they're going to be a team that's fighting for the wild card. So that game's going to matter. That's going to be a tough game. And it may matter a whole heck of a lot if we're trying to figure out. I'm assuming the Bears won't be the second best or the best team in the division. So that tells me they have to be a wild card team, and they're going to be competing with the Seahawks, with the Rams, maybe the Falcons or someone from the South.
Right,
Saints.
Maybe somebody, Tampa or the Saints or the Falcons, maybe somebody in the East Coast.
That Seattle game, the home game on Thursday night.
Philadelphia or whoever else is in second place
Dallas,
in that division.
Dallas.
Right, Philly or Dallas.
So,
yeah,
I mean, that's going to be a game that matters, and it kind of lines up where there is nothing easy, essentially, from the end of November on. If the Bears are going to do anything, they're going to have to be successful when the schedule is difficult. Right. And as you laid it out, they have to get ahead of it. Yeah. They got to pad the schedule and pad some wins early on. I'm looking at the Colts, the Panthers, Jacksonville and London, Commanders and Cardinals.
I'm really looking at everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole schedule early on is Titans, Texans, tough game. Colts, the Rams, you got them at home. The Panthers should be easy. You go to Jacksonville. Then you got the Commanders and the Cardinals on the road. Win-win. The New England Patriots. And then it gets tough. Now you go to Green Bay Packers, or the Green Bay Packers come here. Are you going to win one? Are you going to finally beat the Green Bay Packers this year? I mean, I'm sitting here looking up to the sky, to the heavens, wondering whether the Bears will ever beat the Green Bay Packers. But that would go a long way.
It would.
You know, and I already got a couple losses in there for you that I kind of hesitated and say, hey, that's going to be a tough one. I don't know if the Bears are going to be able to get that. But they've got to play well in their first 8.
And that's what's so dangerous about looking week to week
Right.
and trying to figure out wins
Right.
and losses, because
4-4 in your first 8, and you're in trouble. You've got problems.
yeah, you do. And it's also this thing that we look at this Bears roster, and if you ask yourself how many teams on this list are the Bears better than right now, today, you start counting quite a bit of many teams.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where you get dangerous, and you're looking at 10, 11. I've seen and heard Joniak was on Waddle and Silva yesterday.
He's got him at 15-2.
12.
Yeah.
He's got 12. You know, so like that's where it's every week's difficult. It's
Right.
the National Football League.
Yeah. It's going to be a battle. You got to show up. You got to earn your victories.
He's Jurko. I'm Chris Bleck in for Carmen today. We're at Buffalo Wild Wings in Woodridge. If you want to talk football with us, we're having a football feast today here at Buffalo Wild Wings. You can call us at 312-332-3776. Carmen and Jurko on ESPN 1000.
You're listening to Carmen and Jurko on Chicago's home for sports, ESPN Chicago.